Daf Tet Zayin Amud Aleph. We mentioned, according to Rav, that a robber the robber buys it from the person he stole it from after he had already sold it to someone else. If he buys it back, it looks like he's trying to be trustworthy, and therefore he can't rip it out from that guy's possession, the one that he sold it to, because he's doing it for trust. So, how long after he sells the land do we assume he wants to stand by his word? And if he goes to buy it back from the guy, Marabuna says, until once he gets brought to the attention of the court, that's it. Now it doesn't look like it's Lishma anymore. Here, but Rabbi Marachia says until the seizure warrant reaches the hands, until the guy who bought it from has the seizure warrant. Until the public announcement of the sale, the robber's property begins. All right, so three separate cases where we're trying to differentiate and see until what point would the robber be buying it from the guy out of trust and for a good cause. Okay, here's the question. In a situation, in the case where the guy sold, the robber sold it to someone else. When he sold it to that guy, how did he buy it? He sold them with a shtar. Like, hey, I'm selling you this item I'm selling you this land, but it didn't belong to him. It's a piece of pottery. It's nothing. It's meaningless. It doesn't belong to the robber. If that's the case, and how come he can't rip it out of his hands? It's referring to the guy relied on the robber. Because why? The satisfaction the robber gets, the fact that he bought it, he didn't get anything, he got satisfaction that nobody tried to take it away from him. Because then he lies upon the robber. Therefore, the robber will go and work to buy it from the guy he stole it from. With that, the robber is able to be makne to him, let the guy be acquiring it from him, and therefore it makes a good acquisition when the robber buys it from the guy he stole it from to the guy who the robber sold it to. The Braitat says the following. The guy wants to sell somebody something, and he says, I'm selling you the field that what I will inherit from my father. Or whatever my net will catch is sold to you. Pluma does not. That's where we're going to bring the proof from. However, we bring two more cases which seemingly is similar but not the same. Whatever I inherit today from my father will be sold to you, or whatever my net will catch today is sold to you. So now we're going to break it down. We have a great man, Rosh Hashanah, and here's a question. Yes, he brings a question from the Rashad brings a good question from the first part, just like in the first two cases where the guy does not acquire it for a future acquisition. So too also, if the guy bought it from the robber before the robber bought it from the guy he stole it from, then shouldn't also be acquiring for him. When it says, I see a good man, I don't see a good question. Over there by Rav, the purchaser is confident when he's buying it from the robber. Over here, he's not confident, and therefore, by the case of the trap, so the father dying, he does not acquire it. Gemara says, in the case of the Rav, the robber will go and make sure he buys it for him. He doesn't want to be considered a robber. People don't want to be called a robber, therefore he buys it. And therefore, when he sold to the guy, it also is considered a binding sale. But in the case of the guy will inherit or will catch the thing, the guy doesn't know for sure it's going to happen, and therefore he's not makneh. It's the same question to Rabbi Abba Bar Zavda. He said, this question should not be brought into yeshiva. All right, that either is a compliment or an insult. You take it the way you want. It's machloket. Rabba says, is it it's too good of a question or it's not a good question at all? Rabba says, it means it's definitely necessary to bring it inside. The answer is whether or not the guy had confidence in the purchase, like we said just now. They had a question in asked Rabbi Yosef. Said, it's not a good question to bring inside. Same thing. You should definitely bring it inside. It all depends on the confidence of the purchaser. How come in the first two cases it did not work? But in the second two cases it did work. When he said today it worked. Why? Marbi Yochanan Seifa is a special cases. Is referring to the case where the guy says, whatever I'm going to inherit from my father today is referring to the case of Mishum Kibur Aviv, to honor the father, which is what the father is on his deathbed about to pass away, and the guy does not have funds to pay for the funeral and the cost of burying him. Therefore, he's saying to the guy, buy this field now that I'm going to inherit so I could pay for the funeral. And because of the kavod for the father's burial, we let it happen. In the case of the net from today, will be sold to and it works. Why? Is Mishum Kedehayab, is we want him to make his money. The guy's obviously very poor. He did not have any money to do it. Therefore, he says, okay, whatever I catch today will belong to you. Just front me the money and buy it from now. That's why it works. But generally, it won't work. Okay. Marav Huna Marav. Someone tells his friend, the field that I'm about to buy, shall be acquiring, retroactively acquired to you. Cannot, it does work, and you can't retract. She's saying PPE before you buy it, you want to pre-sell it, same thing. Marav says, that makes sense only if he's trying to buy a unspecified field. But if he's trying to buy a certain field, it doesn't work like that. You can't pre-buy that or pre-sell it because maybe who says the guy will be able to sell it to him? If I'm saying I'll get you a field and you're pre-buying it from me before I buy it, that works because you can get any field. But if you're specifying a certain field, who says you'll be able to get the owner to sell it to you? Rav swears out. He's like, Rav says, I feel even if he does say this field, who does it work according to? It does work because of the mirror. Why? That he holds a guy can make an acquisition. A guy can buy something even though it doesn't exist now. Tanya, famous concept. Someone tells a woman he's trying to marry her. Marry me after I convert. After you convert. After I get freed from slavery. After you get freed from slavery. After your husband dies. Messed up. After your Yavam performs chalitza. After your sister dies. Yeah, that will allow me to marry you. Right? The case of the sister married him. It does not work. All these things don't work because it didn't happen yet. Not eligible yet. Rabbi Meir Omer because Rabbi said it doesn't work. So the Rabbah will say it works according to Meir. Says therefore, in this case, the woman is like the case of the field, which doesn't make not for sure going to happen, and therefore Meir has said it works. So two Rabbah over here also work according to the Meir. Shmuel. Someone finds a document acquisition in the street. Document acquisition, we said a couple of days ago, where the document someone gives someone else saying, I will borrow money from you. Not for sure. But in the event that I do borrow money from you, regardless of whether or not I borrow it, I'm being mishu'ubar, I'm giving a lien on my property to you for your use in the event that I borrow, but it's even mishu'ubar to you, even a lien, even if I don't borrow it. Remember we explained that Ritva has a whole explanation why someone would do that. Yeah, if someone finds it in the street, you give it back to the creditor. Because why? If he wrote it to borrow, but he didn't end up borrowing it, that doesn't make sense. That's not a problem because that is literally what this document is for. He didn't borrow it yet. Most of these cases, he already put the lien on himself. He already obligated himself. The rest of the if you're afraid that he already paid it back, you don't afraid that he paid back because if he already paid it, he would have ripped it up. And therefore, since the document is still there, obviously it's still a live document. Amar Nachman says, Abba min Safri Dayan de Mord Shmuel. My father is one of Shmuel's Safrim. When I was 6 or 7 years old, I remember that he would announce, all documents acquisition found in the street, to give back to the creditors. Right? Proof. Interesting that you're bringing a proof from a 6-year-old's testimony. It's also yan in itself. Okay, 1 second. Another proof. Another Mishnah. All documents in Bedin, you can return it to the creditor. Because we see from them, we don't suspect prepaid that it was already paid back. Mara says 1 second. That Mishnah is when it's saying it's an act of or documents of the court. It's referring to cases of seizure warrants or foreclosures. That's a notification document that your house is getting seized or foreclosed. That's not a payment document that you could pay back, and therefore you have no reason to suspect that it got paid back because it's not a payment document. So of course, in that case, you give it back. But in general, you can't say that. Maybe it was paid back. Says, what do you mean? Of course it's payable. We know in the city. Shuma hadar seized property can be paid back up to 12 months after it gets collected. So you can pay it back, even if it gets seized. Says even better. I'm actually from Nahar you can always buy back seized property, foreclosed property. Very nice. So therefore, proof to Shmuel that you give it back. Amar Rav Rav says something else. The reason the Mishnah you give back is because the Amar Ihu who do Afsin of Sheh. He did this to himself. Because if he paid it, he should have ripped it up, or else he should have wrote another document saying that he repossessed it. You should have fixed the problem. You took care of the problem. Make sure you either rip up the old document that says you owe it, or rewrite new documents to support your claim. And therefore, it's his fault. Technically, according to the halacha, you don't have to give it back to him. Meaning, if you seize the property, you don't have to give back even if you offer his money. However, Pasuk says, you shall do what is fair and good in the eyes of Hashem. Therefore, Chamim say you should give back, let the guy buy it back after it got confiscated. And therefore, when the guy is buying it back, he should have had a new bill of sale. It's no longer just I paid back the loan. No, you were buying back your land. You need a new deed. And therefore, since you didn't write the new deed, sorry. Regarding the loan, that doesn't apply. He would have paid back. He should have ripped it up. But that's not true, because maybe he just didn't do it yet. Maybe he didn't get the paper back yet. He paid him the $1,000, and the guy said, "Oh, I'll give you the paper tomorrow," and therefore he didn't have a chance. Because the guy didn't have it. And therefore, maybe he really did pay it back, but he just didn't get the paper to rip it up. Or maybe he did pay back the $1,000, but then the guy said, "Okay, when you pay me back for the scribe fees, then I'll give it back to you." So he did pay it back, but he didn't have a chance to rip it up because he didn't get the paper. So Shmuel does not approve, not approve from that mission. Someone finds a loan paper in the street. Even if Betin had a certification already, does not go back to the creditor. Obviously, in a case where there is a no certification, maybe it was just a draft document that wasn't ended up using to borrow. Even if there was certification, which means a loan did happen, which is a verification, you don't return it, because maybe you paid it back. So question against Shmuel. 1 second. We bring a proof of Mishnah that you do return it. Mar says, Amarle, Yirmiyah beri my dear son Yirmiyah. It wasn't actually his father, it was just the endearment. Lo kol ma'aseh bedin shavim. Not all court documents are the same. The Mishnah over there is referring to where the guy has already been proven to be a liar. There he says, give it back. Because he can't just say, oh, I already paid it back. He was already proven to lie already. We don't trust him anymore. Just because you already proved to be a liar once, who says he didn't pay back since then? It's not fair. He could charge him twice. He could still have repaid it. Nah, rather, different answer. The document was a foreclosure or seizure document, and according to Bezerah, that holds that it's not considered a payable document, and not obviously not holding like the Nahadain people that allow it to be back. Anyhow, we're gonna digress a little bit. The Kafran regarding we mentioned a liar. Now that we mention it, let's talk about it. Amrullah, the court told the debtor, said 10 lo, go pay the guy you owe money. Then he afterwards says, okay, I paid him. Neiman, he believes. Afterward, the guy comes, the lender comes and says, okay, give me a paper that says that you charge the guy to pay me. You told the guy to pay me. You don't write it and give it to him because we assume the guy already paid it. If the guy says, you're chayav to pay him. You didn't say go pay him. He says, you are chayav to pay him. Then he says, I paid it. Neiman is not believed because he wasn't given a direct obligation, a direct commandment to pay. And therefore, if the guy comes, the lender comes and says, give me a record of the verdict, you do give it to him. Ben said, whether or not the guy, the Betin told him, go give it, Ben or you're obligated to give it. The guy says, I paid it, Neiman is believed. And the guy wants a record of the verdict, and you don't give it to him because maybe he already paid it back. Ella, another thing, if it's a machloket, there's a machloket the following. Amrulo 10 if the Betin told him to go pay it. I paid it. And the witness testified that he did not pay it. Now he's proven to be a liar, regarding that loan. And therefore, in order to be believed that he paid it, he has to bring witnesses. But the bet team told him you're obligated to give it him. But he did paid it. But he did not pay. He's not to be a presumed liar. Regarding that money. And why? Why? In that case, he could just be trying to stall for time and not lying. He says, I won't pay until they recheck my case, or because they didn't force me to pay it. Therefore, maybe there's still time for me to fight for my case. Okay. Someone tells somebody else, you owe me $100. And he says, I never borrowed money from you. But Edim testified that he does owe. Then he says, okay, yeah, I paid it. He's considered a liar already, and therefore he's not believed until he brings witnesses. He had the Shabtai Bered Rabbi Marinos. There's a story with the Shabtai who he wrote for his daughter-in-law a ketubah for a beautiful garment as part of her ketubah. And he accepted it upon himself, the father-in-law accepted it upon himself to give it to the daughter-in-law in the case of the ketubah payment. Irkas ketubah, the ketubah was lost, and then it happened to be they needed, either she got divorced or the husband died, and now came to pay it. He denied it. Shatat denied it. She brought witnesses and she said that he was chayav it. So he's like, in kataba, yeah, I did write it. Let's just amar lahu parati. Then afterward he said, okay, I gave it to her. After the medri bechiyah, you've already been proven a liar regarding that garment, and therefore, if you didn't bring witnesses, you're not believed. Someone's chayav to swear, and he says, I already swore. Witnesses proved that he did not swear yet, testified he did not swear yet. He's presumed to be a liar, and he has to swear again if he doesn't bring witnesses. They mentioned this halakha in front of Rav. He said, logically, that halakha only makes sense. That's only the case where he was chayav shavua he was obligated by bedin to swear. But if he himself volunteered to swear, Ne'eman is believed to swear even if Edin testified he didn't. Because people will refuse to do things that Betin did not obligate him to do. Therefore, when he refused to swear earlier, it does not mean that he didn't swear. They returned to Rabbi Yavin to see if he agreed. I also, when I said that you have to swear again and you're not believed, it's only in Betin, like he said. That proves it. If someone was chayav in Bedin, the Maran and he said, I already swore. Testified he did not swear yet. He's presumed the liar and he has to swear again in front of Edim.